Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live for another Blue Wednesday edition in the Blue Corner. As you can see here, you've got Chris Beach here from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Now, usually I would be joined by Joe Luzza in Bangkok, but this evening he has pulled out for another matter that he can't get away from. So, this evening I have.
I thought you were going to say he's actually improved his looks dramatically in the last week.
Well, there's still time for that. But anyway, this evening, for me, I have brought in the Nostradamus of the Carlton Football Club himself with the dulcet tones of Vince Lochisano. Good evening, good sir.
Good evening to you, Beachy, and thanks very much for for inviting me to be your co-host tonight. And yes, in Joe's absence, let's hope that he's not going to be detained for too long. And
No.
he does apologise for his detainment.
I can only
As Billy
imagine what
Crystal
that's
said in a funny
for.
movie once. Anyway, yes, it's great to be here, and hopefully our viewers tonight get a little bit of something different. And we're going to quickly go over the game last Saturday night, only because it doesn't provide very, very many good memories for us, does it?
No, it doesn't. As someone that attended, this is one I want to try and forget as quickly as possible, but we will quickly review this as much as we can, and then we will move on to other subjects this evening. So,
Yeah.
Vince, you obviously discussed it with Steve Katib on Blue Sunday. Why don't you just remind
and that was on Monday, yep.
Of course, yes, it was on Monday because you were recording for the Jumper Punch.
Yes.
But why don't you just remind people what you thought of the game on Saturday night?
Well, look, I was pretty disappointed along with most other Carlton supporters. I don't think we ever really had a period in the game where we exerted any dominance or I guess, showed what we were capable of. I think there was only a small patch there in that first quarter where we were coming from behind to eventually just take the lead by quarter time. There was 3 goals in a row there, but I don't think we kicked very many goals after quarter time. I think there's only 4. And at one stage, I think after quarter time, I think Geelong might have scored something like 9 goals to 2 before we kicked a couple of late ones. So, yeah, I was fairly disappointed in our performance. I didn't think we played to our strengths very well. In fact, they, in some regards, beat us at our own game. If we were going to win that game, we were going to win it on the outside, and I thought that they dominated the outside more than we did.
No, that's a very good synopsis.
And the other thing is, we cost ourselves so badly with our kicking efficiency and disposal efficiency in general, and we cost ourselves badly with turnover. I mean, I think we conceded 60 points. That's 10 goals on turnover. So that's just unacceptable.
Exactly. And you know what? When people like Mackay can't get into the game, it makes it very difficult for us to even mount a response to Geelong. Now, that's not a knock on Sam De Koning, who is Tom De Koning's brother, because he absolutely blanketed Harry Mackay on Saturday night. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if he can't do it, then who can? Who can step up?
Yeah, well, Harry had a really poor night. He had a stinker, really. I expect him to bounce back this week. But, you've got to perform when you're in these big blockbuster type games. It was billed as a blockbuster. I don't think the game lived up to that billing. Harry had a really poor night. And I think probably... I don't know. Our midfield really worries me at the moment. I'm not sure how they're going about their business. They individually seem to do okay, and when you look at their individual stats, but as a unit, sometimes they just don't get it to work. What did you think?
Well, as someone that attended the game, you pretty much just nailed it. I mean, they whooped us on the outside. They forced us wider, which when they had plenty of numbers behind the ball, they were able to slingshot and go for the rebound. Now, I'll admit the likes of Cameron and Hawkins probably took a little while to get into the game, but it was the likes of their small guys, Stengel, Guthrie, Atkins. They just destroyed us, even from the centre.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Look, I think our deconning, Tom battled manfully in the ruck for most of the night. I actually had him in my top 5 players on the night for us. And I thought Walsh battled all night. You know, he got his 33 possessions, but it wasn't just the possessions. It was, you know, he did a lot of contested work, a lot of clearance work. He worked his backside off. I thought he was clearly our best player on the ground. Others may differ in that opinion. And by all means, by the way, we should encourage our viewers, if they want to make any comments or share their opinions or ask any questions, by all means do that by having a look at our Facebook page in the blue corner, or on YouTube, of course, of the same name, in the blue corner, and you can have a look at our live broadcast right now and send in your comments and questions. So look, I rated Sam Walsh as our best player. I thought Doherty was very dependable down back. George Hewitt was probably our second best midfielder to Walsh.
Yep.
I felt. Zach Fisher had a pretty good night. That was good to see. He had plenty of the ball. And as I said, Tom DeConning was the other one that I thought was worthy of being included in our top half a dozen best players. But there weren't too many after that.
No, you're right.
I think Wiedering had a very average game. He's clearly not back to his best yet since coming back from injury. Even Lewis Young had probably not one of his better games. Not that it was a bad game, but not one of his best. What did you think of some of the inclusions that came in, Beachy, like Stocker's game, for example?
Well, I thought Stocker played pretty well. He was a rebounding defender, pretty much running back all day. You know, now of course Geelong's forward line is nothing to be sneezed at, because that's a very, very good forward line. But you know, he was impacting the contests. He was throwing his weight around, and he wasn't making life easy for Geelong, which was very, very important, because it could have been a hell of a lot more of a bad defeat if he wasn't doing that.
True. So you'd think he'd keep his spot on the side this week?
I reckon he would, yes.
Okay. Interesting that Will Hayes got cited for that tackle. Interesting that Nathan Buckley came out in the media and defended him and said he couldn't believe that he got suspended for that tackle.
Yes.
But Carlton's chosen not to defend it, and they're prepared to accept the 2-match sanction. What do you make of that? Would they have done that if it was Sam Walsh, or if it was Patrick Cripps, or if it was, Harry Mackay or Charlie Curnahan?
Yeah, I reckon we would have done it if it was one of them. I must admit, when I found out that they accepted it, I was thinking to myself, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you not stepping up to defend him? Yeah, sure, it's his second game with the club, effectively. Sure. His second full game with the club, because he has come on as a medical sub the last couple of times, mainly West Coast, but anyway, that doesn't matter.
In medical sub, he got 5 minutes and did pretty well in those 5 minutes. I think he got 5 possessions.
He did, and he almost had a goal to go with it as well. But look, I was probably a little bit disappointed we didn't decide to appeal it. And I'm glad that there was actually someone that actually came out and defended him, because, how many times have we, the fans, tried to defend our players' actions over many years? And I think the less said about it for me, the better, because we could be sitting here all night.
Well, obviously, someone's going to have to come into the side this week for Will Hayes, so we'll discuss that when it's time to go to team selection a little bit later. But we're still reviewing the game. Obviously, we'll just quickly recap: Carlton 8-7-55 defeated by Geelong 12-13, 85. Did you feel that it was a 5-goal loss type of feeling, or as some others have told me, they felt more like it was more like a 10-goal loss?
Honestly, Vince, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to get going into the game.
Well, put it this way, there's 10 more scoring shots there, 25-15.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, if Geelong had been more accurate, it probably would have been a 10-goal loss.
Would have been more like 18-7 to 8-7 instead of 12-13.
Yeah, I mean, that said, if we had our way with the ball, different ball game altogether. But this isn't about ifs and buts. This is about reality. And unfortunately, the reality is we now sit 7th. Going into the game against GWS on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a big game, that's for sure. And we wouldn't want to take them lightly because they're a side that made the finals last year, and we know that things haven't really worked out for them this year, and they've sacked their coach, and they've got an interim coach in charge. And I think teams like that can be quite dangerous at this time of the year because they're going to play with gay abandon. You know, they're just going to be playing attacking, free-flowing football, and Mark McVeigh seems to have adopted that style for the team. And, players like Toby Green, etc., are going to be very dangerous on Sunday.
Yes, exactly. And we all know players like Toby Green love playing against us. But just bear in mind as well, I was sort of having a look at the in the mix for selection on the AFL website, and two possible. There's one definite absentee that's going to miss this week, but there might be another one as well, depending on how he pulls up. The definite is Josh Kelly, thanks to a concussion he sustained against the Brisbane Lions. Now, the concussion protocol means he has to miss no matter what.
Yeah.
So that has to happen there. The possible missing there is also Whitfield. So keep your eyes peeled for that, ladies and gents, because if that's the case...
Well, they're going to be very heavily weakened, aren't they?
I was just going to say, GWS could be getting quite badly hit here. Emphasis is could.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the odds here. Not that we should encourage betting, but Carlton's at $1.29 with Sportsbet at the moment. Is that too short?
Jesus, almost. I mean, any shorter, and are you going to get any value?
Well, GWS is $3.62, but maybe these players being out will really weaken them. And I guess we've always responded after a loss this year. We haven't had 2 losses in a row.
No, that's right.
So everyone's expecting us to do the same again this week at home at Marvel Stadium, where we play our best football, clearly.
Yes.
And, after a loss to Geelong, we're going to be smarting from that, and so wanting to put the score on the board this week.
Exactly. And, the only loss we've had at said venue is against St Kilda. Everyone else we've beaten. So,
that's right.
That's important, but, we're not worrying about St Kilda. We're worrying about GWS.
Yeah, the only reason we lost to St Kilda at Marvel Stadium was because they played it on a Friday night, and that's like throwing kryptonite at us.
Yeah.
We never perform on Friday nights. Haven't done that for a long, long time. I don't think I can't remember the last Friday night game we won.
They put us on a Friday night against the Swans, didn't they?
Oh, did they? Oh,
yeah.
Actually, you might be right. No, I think you're right. Sorry, I'll take that back. But for the last probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, we've hardly won a Friday night. I remember that year that the AFL scheduled a whole stack of games on a Friday night for us, and nearly every time we played on a Friday night, we were getting smacked, and the poor old Channel 7 executives were pulling their hair out because the ratings were going backwards because by halftime everyone had switched off.
Yep.
Anyway, let's not get back to those bad old days.
No, exactly.
Back to reviewing our game. As I said, 8-7-55 to 12-13-85. But we did have the lead at quarter time, 4-1, 25 to 3-4, 22. How were you feeling at that stage of the game, Chris? Were you feeling like, okay, we're in front, we can now start putting it together in the second quarter, or how were you feeling?
Oh, I was actually feeling pretty good. I mean, that late goal from Motlop to put us in front, I was thinking, okay,
which was the third of 3 goals consecutively kicked.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey, Joe.
Oh, he's back.
Mate.
Does that mean I'm going to be booted off now or what?
Eh?
Does that mean I'm going to be booted off now or not?
No. Continue. I haven't watched any, so continue.
Are you all right, Joe? Everything under control?
Yeah, I just got a message this morning about I had to go to a court case, and I went, what?
So they finally got you, did they?
Yeah, I'm not in shackles. So, mate, funny. I'll have to talk to you, Beachy, off air about the court system here. So funny. Anyway, go on. Continue on, please, Vincenzo.
Thailand's one of the last places I'd want to go to court. Thank you. I've watched Bridget Jones's Diary, the number 2.
No, I haven't. What happened?
Well, she goes to jail in Thailand. It's not very pleasant.
Yeah, I don't know about going to jail, but the court was hilarious. But anyway.
Okay.
You're only allowed to answer yes or no.
Right.
So that, I'd go, yeah, but. And they, no, yes, no. I'm okay. Anyway.
Did you bring your boogie board in with you or?
That got confiscated. I lent it to, what was her name? Chappelle Corby. I was still waiting for Chappelle, if you're watching. I'm waiting for my boogie board to be returned.
All right, let's get back to the footy, shall we?
Okay.
Oh, so footy? Okay. Go on.
So Vince, you were asking about what I felt at quarter time. Yeah, look, I felt pretty good. Jesse Motlop putting this in front. And I was thinking to myself, okay, and I've been using this word quite a bit at games here, build on it. Let's get that momentum going. And unfortunately, like I said in our little review earlier, Vince, we just couldn't quite get that done.
Yeah, I think we kicked. I think they kicked the first one to get them back in front, but then we got the next one after that and put us back in front. But then after that, it was the start of a run that Geelong had, kicked most of the next, I think, 10 goals.
Do you think we even looked like winning after quarter time?
Well, no, certainly not by halftime. I think by halftime I was starting to feel this is looking a bit ugly.
I was thinking at halftime, by how much are we going to lose? I was hoping it just wouldn't be a blowout to really kill our percentage.
Look, games can turn around, but I don't know about you, but I just didn't feel like we made enough moves. What did you think of Voss's performance as a coach on the weekend? Did he get out coached? I didn't feel there were enough key positional moves. Like sometimes he tinkers around the edges with guys like Cottrell and News and all these guys, but that's just tinkering around the edges to me. I think there needs to be some, like when Harry wasn't performing and clearly out of sorts down forward and not getting any separation from his opponent, I would have moved him up the ground and maybe brought even DeConning down to full forward or Charlie and swap Harry with Charlie and just try something different.
I think those days are gone, Vince. I mean, I don't know if Beachy's probably a bit too young to remember, but yeah, you remember the days where Silvani was down back and he wasn't performing and they moved him up forward and he'd kick some goals, or he was up forward and they moved him down back. I don't think they tend to do that much anymore, Vince. I think now it's all about, this is the game.
I'm not talking about putting Harry. I'm not talking about putting Harry McLeod
No, but what
I'm just saying a subtle switch like centre half forward to full forward, etc.
But this is what I'm trying to tell you, Vince. I think now that they have game plans and they just try and stick to those game plans, right? And
don't you need to be adaptable too when that game plan's not working, or when certain players that are within that plan are not really functioning in their role? You need to be able to move the chess pieces around a bit.
But they don't. Show me the last time we really moved the chess pieces around. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I think those days are long gone. I mean, even other teams tend to do it either. Do you know what I mean? They sort of put players there, and the coach says, "Oh, I've got to have faith in Lochisano at centre half forward because that's where he plays." And Chris Beach is holding down centre half back. I know he's well beaten, but do you know, like Wiedering, to me, Wiedering just looked lost. I don't know if it was fitness or whether it was the ball was coming down too quick or confidence. And same with Lewis Young. There's a quick one. Just swap the two around, but they don't do it. Swap Harry and Charlie around. They don't do it. Maybe put Walsh in the middle.
But if you don't, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always had. So if it's not working,
every team.
And it wasn't working in the first half, well then guess what? The second half it didn't work either.
Yeah, but it worked until quarter time. And so that's why they think, let's see if we can get back to it. But that's what they think, Vince. I'm sure.
Well, surely halfway through the third quarter, when they skipped away to a 5-goal lead, something needed to change.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't see the moves being made. I just felt like we were tentative in the coach's box and we were tentative on the ground as well. And we just never looked like a team that was going to win that game.
No, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But, a couple of results went for us, last week, like Richmond losing and, as much as I hate to say it, I'll be supporting Essendon scum this weekend, to beat Collingwood.
We all have to, I'm afraid.
To keep us. But this is the sad thing.
That's a matter of which team do you hate the most, Collingwood or Essendon?
Well, I hate them equally, Vince.
Okay, let's go for the draw. Let's go for a nil draw.
We don't want to draw because then that ruins the points. I'm looking at keeping our spot in the 8 secured. I was listening
in other
to
words,
SEN.
You don't care about how many games Essendon wins now because they can't make the 8. You only give them.
They can't make the 8.
Losing.
I had a look, and actually, it'd be great if Essendon make the 8 because they haven't won a finals match for like 3,000 years, have they? So at least even if we get to play them, we could just say,
I think they haven't won a final since 2004, so it's a long, long time ago. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, it's going to be there, but
I think they ticked over the 6,000 days mark earlier this year.
There's an actual Twitter account about it. It's quite hilarious.
Is it? Oh, I'll have to get onto it. But realistically, we shouldn't have to worry about these results. We should just worry about winning our games and keeping our spot. But we got after this week we've got GWS, then we've got the Crows.
Yep, that's over there.
Now, if we don't win those 2 matches, it's going to put us under enormous pressure. If we do win them, if we do win them, that'll bring us to 13 wins, and we're assured of a spot in the 8. That's for sure. Yeah. Because don't forget Richmond, who are currently in 9th, battling it out with sides like the Bulldogs and St Kilda and Port Adelaide and Gold Coast. 9th, if we get to 13 wins, we're just not going to, we're not going to slip out of the 8. We'll be at least in that 5th to 8th sector, where you end up playing an elimination final. If we can manage to win not only the next 2 games, but win at least one of the last 3 against either Brisbane, Melbourne, or Collingwood, and geez, if we could win 2 of those 3, that puts us in a really strong position to make top 4. Whether we can achieve those 4 out of the next 5, I don't know, but certainly we have to get at least 2. I think we'll end up having 3. I think we'll end up winning 3 of the next 5. I can see us pulling off a win against either Brisbane, Melbourne, or Collingwood. At least one out of those 3. And I think we will win the next 2 games against GWS and Adelaide, who are currently 3rd last and 4th last on the ladder.
Yeah. But if I'd have said to you at the start of the year, you too, Beachy, are you going to finish in the 8th? Would you have taken it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You look at all these social sites. Oh, we're no good. We're not finals contenders. And guys,
we are. And if you're in there with a shot, you're in there with a shot. The Bulldogs won a premiership from 7th position in 2016. They also made the grand final last year from 7th as well. You don't have to finish on top of the ladder.
What are you saying, Vince? You're saying we're going to win the premiership from 7th?
I'm not saying we're going to. I'm saying that if you're in the 8, you have a chance.
I like
keep winning.
Vince,
you'll make it. Oh, sorry.
Anyway.
Am I like a fish that just ate the hook?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it. So, are you disappointed that we lost to Geelong? Yeah, we're always disappointed when we lose.
I think it'll be a learning experience. Look, all you can take from a game like that is the learning experience. But let's get real, and let's the Kool-Aid drinkers have got to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and stop thinking that we're a top four side. We're not, and performances like that proved it. We have to accept the reality of where we're at, and therefore learn what we can from sides like Geelong, and start adopting similar practices. I mean, they were a very well-drilled unit. One of the things I'll say about Geelong is they're a very mature team. They've been playing together as a unit for a long time, most of those guys, and that brings a lot of synergy into a team. We haven't had that synergy with the same sort of players playing regularly all the time. We've had the introduction of new players this year, like Carroll, like Hewitt, like others, Lewis Young, etc., and others, Motlop. There's a whole host of them that have come in. They haven't played a lot of football together, so that's taking time. We have to accept that.
No, that's okay. Now, have we gone through who we think is going to be in and out this week?
Not yet, because we thought we'd wait for you to come and join us.
And we were also going to touch on the injury.
No, we were just reviewing the game from last Saturday night briefly, and I guess if you want to start talking about team changes for this week, we can. We can go there whenever you want.
We can go through the injury list. Have you got it, Chris?
Yep, I've got it in front of me at the moment.
All right, let's go through it. Beachy.
Go, shoot, Beachy.
So, Jordan Boyd is a foot. Scans confirmed an acute fracture. That was an update on the 27th of June.
Yeah, he's pretty much gone. When's the expected return, or how many weeks out?
It said late in the season.
Yeah, late in the season. They haven't updated it since the 27th of June, so I think he's done.
I very much doubt that Jordan Boyd will be back before the end of the year. There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. Next.
Jack Carroll managed. We'll have a lighter week on the training track this week. Availability will be set on the 20th. So that was updated today for Jack Carroll.
Both of those two boys will end up having to come back through the VFL anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Ed Curnahan hamstring.
Gone.
He
Gone.
He injured himself in the VFL.
VFL first quarter.
I think what I heard that they were going to try and do with Ed Curnow is that even though he's unlikely to return to a senior lineup before the end of the year, and that I guess poses the question of does he retire? Doesn't he retire? If they can bring him back fit enough by the end of the season, because the reserves, the VFL team is doing so well, and they're up in the top 4 at the moment, they're thinking that Ed Curnow could very well be a handy addition to that team if they play finals. Okay. So, it's a hamstring. It's not going to keep him out for 8 weeks. We're talking about a 2 to 3 weeker. So, who knows?
He's been a good soldier.
Be back at least to play with the VFL, and who knows? Maybe even captain a VFL premiership or something like that might be the go for him.
Yeah, let's hope. Right. So the next two, David Cunningham, knee, has not been able to increase his training load. Aim is still for him to play in the back end of the season. That was updated on the 14th of July. I don't see him coming back into the AFL side. Maybe VFL, but that's an emphasis on maybe.
Yeah.
Look, David Cunningham's been cruelled with injury, and he's clearly displayed when he has played an ability to.
He's got skill.
He's got a lot of skill, but I tell you what, he just doesn't get on the park, Joe. It's a big decision at the end of this year that the club's got to make with someone like him. Do we keep persisting with him, or do we say, look, David, you just can't get yourself on the park. We're getting no value for money out of you, and we need to get players in that can actually be fit enough to play. It's cruel. I know it sounds cruel, but they might have to make a harsh decision on him. I for one hope that he gets another chance. I do, because I've seen what he's capable of. But you just got to get on the park. You're no good to us in the injury room.
I saw him as a junior. He was unbelievable.
The thing about it also is that he did that knee in the Melbourne game last year. Do you remember what the date was of that game? It had to have been something like May, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
If it
was May, this has ended up being a 14-month knee injury.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be out. I know. Well, he might have had a bit of a setback, though, did he?
Yeah. He's had a few setbacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what decision even he makes.
Marchbank, isn't it?
Yes, Marchbank's next. And it says
he's going to be potentially some good news.
Yep.
Would you be playing him in the firsts? I know there's a lot of people out there, and Ross has even put one up. There's a lot of ploughman haters out there, right? So
we will get to that. We'll get to the ins and outs in a moment. But
but I'm just saying, do you think Marchbank will come in, or do you think they'll play him in the VFL if he is fit?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think I'd be inclined to give him another hit out in the VFL first.
And Ross thinks he'll play twos.
And Ross thinks he'll play in the VFL.
So if they play him in the AFL, they play him in the AFL team, and he gets injured again, then the club's only got itself to blame.
Well, that might spell the end of his career too.
I mean, really, who's he going to be blanketing? Who's he going to be playing on at GWS that's so dangerous that we need to bring Marchbank in so quickly?
Maybe give him 2 quarters in the reserves. Just see how he's going.
I'd play him in the VFL team. No, I'd play him a full game the previous night, because Carlton plays GWS. I think it's at 6 o'clock or something like that at Icon Park the previous night.
Yes, that's correct. Which I'm actually going to. Yeah, which I'm actually going to. So
Beachy will expect a full report on my desk in triplicate. Okay.
Thanks, Joe. I'll
get the carbon paper out. I want to see blue fingers on Saturday morning or Sunday morning.
Righto. No worries. All good. I'll take care of that. Next is Jack Martin, calf, has returned to full training. Will be assessed next week when whether he will return to play. Updated today.
Okay, so we'll assume that he's not in. He's not ready. Okay.
Oscar McDonald back. Plays in that list. Done. That's fine.
He's gone. He's finished. You won't see him back at the club anymore.
Matt Owens, calf, was a late withdrawal last week against the Eagles.
I hear he's going to be out for another week.
Currently scheduled to be sidelined for the next 2 weeks. Updated last week.
There you go.
So he's not ready. Next.
Luke Parks, foot.
Season.
Still in a moon boot as he continues to recover from a bone stress injury.
Forget him.
Gone. Yep. Sam Philp, also foot. Withdrawn from VFL game after experiencing foot soreness. Has been diagnosed with a stress fracture in his foot, as well as a plantar fasciitis issue. Sidelined for the remainder of the season. Done. And
BG, that's the plantar fasciitis. Okay.
Thank you. I was going to screw that up at some point, but thank you for helping me with that one.
Sounds like a plant.
Dr. Peter Larkin here.
Sounds like a bush or a plant or some sort of vegetable that you plant in your garden or something.
Probably is.
And Zach Williams, calf, continuing to build up his training program, progressing as planned with a view to playing the last fortnight of the season, updated last week.
Okay. So
that's
basically,
a lot of football that he's missing, isn't it? I mean, he's another one that probably should be forced to come back at least one match, if not 2, in the VFL before they just rush him back into the seniors.
So that means last week I didn't see the VFL. So McGovern played in the VFL, didn't he, last week?
The VFL team played well. They scored 10-10-70 to beat Geelong 9-5-59 by 11 points at Icon Park. And when the game was right on the line, the good thing was that McGovern came in, took a big, strong mark and kicked the goal that put us in front. So
Did Pitternet play?
He came good at the right time, and
yes, Pitternet played.
And Pitternet played a very good game apparently. So I think you'll find the Pitternet will come back.
Okay, and McGovern, do we think he'll be back?
McGovern, I reckon.
Okay, so let's go to our ins and outs.
Yep.
Okay.
Will Hayes is definitely an out.
He's definitely out.
Well, we know he's out, and we also know that we have to have one more out than what there is coming in because of the injury sub, right? The medical sub. So we need to leave out 4 players, bring in 3, and then from the emergencies they will choose a medical sub.
Okay.
So Will Hayes is out.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that you would drop out of the team, assuming that they're all fit?
I'm just trying to get the stats up for last week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to see.
Well, Honey also played as a medical sub last week, so
but
you'd
he
assume
wasn't
that
used.
he would be dropped purely because he didn't even play. So you'd say
bit stiff.
Hayes is out, Honey is out, medical sub. Anyone else that you'd have out?
Well, depends who you want to bring in. If you bring in McGovern, that means you've got to drop one.
Assuming you're bringing in McGovern and Pitternet.
Yeah.
Right? Assuming you're bringing in McGovern and Pitternet, there's 2 ins that you need 3 outs. So you've got Hayes. I'm assuming Honey, the medical sub, goes out as well. And 1 more needs to be dropped. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Plowman? Is it going to be Durden? Is it going to be Stocker? Cottrell? Or Nunes? They're the ones that had really quiet games.
I thought Stocker was very quiet last week. I can't work that guy out. Some weeks he's really good, and then other weeks he's really.
Well, Beachy felt he played a reasonably good game and played his role. He got about 14 possessions and 15 possessions.
I'm saying Stocker stays.
Who am I to argue with Beachy?
The only knock on his game would probably be that he didn't have 1 tackle last week, and for a backman, that's very strange.
Yeah.
Okay. For a guy that likes to throw his weight around.
Sorry, what was that?
For a guy that likes to throw his weight around, this is Stocker.
He hasn't been doing it much, though, has he?
I think you've got to do more than just throw your weight around, though. You've got to get plenty of the ball and use it well. Probably the knock on Stocker is that he can butcher it sometimes. I think he might have had 4 or 5 clangers in that 15 possessions. And disposal efficiency's got to improve. So, his position's by no means assured. What about Durden? I think Durden's been very lucky over the last 5 weeks, considering his output.
I was just going to put that up. Ross and Angela Fioria says Durden needs a break. I think he's been very quiet.
I agree with Ross there. I think Stocker should stay. He's only been
brought in
for the first week in quite a number of weeks. You've got to give him a chance to get back into the swing of it. Newman is the turnover king. Yeah, we'll see. No. I don't think they'll drop Newman. Some people think they should, based on 1 bad game. I think he's had a lot of good games, and I think he's got a few credits in the bank. I don't think they're going to drop him on one poor performance. Well, Nunes as well is probably running out of credit tickets. He only had the 12 disposals, 6 kicks and 6 hand passes, 3 marks and 3 tackles last week. He didn't do a lot. I think his position's questionable. I thought Motlop was the better of the 2 small forwards, but I think Durden. I honestly
think hang on, guys.
Durden is one guy that, if they keep him in there, it's only because Owies is not available. If Owies was available, I reckon Durden would get dropped.
Yeah. Sorry, there's someone at the door.
So he might survive again, Durden. I don't know. He tends to like playing Marvel Stadium better than the MCG as well. But what about Plowman? Some people think that Plowman needs to be dropped, but I don't agree with that. I think he's probably the best matchup we've got for Toby Green. What do you think, Beachy?
Yeah, I agree. He'll do a task on Toby Green. We don't know to what extent that task is going to be until that game starts, but he will do a task on him. Jenna asking
who are the danger guys this week, Beachy? In your mind, who? Obviously, we've got to mind Toby Green. Who else? Like they've got a couple of good sentiment, haven't they?
Yeah, but Joe, if you heard what I had said earlier in the broadcast, there's no Josh Kelly for GWS. He's out with concussion, and there's there's possibly going to be no Whitfield either. So keep your eyes open for that. Because that
Whitfield didn't play last week anyway.
Yeah, but still.
The Ferrari's starting to sound like a mini minor, isn't it? With all these outs.
Gina Harris asking, where are you playing McGovern? The answer to that question, Gina, is easy. It's in defence. Where he's played before he got himself injured against the Western Bulldogs.
Is he doing that Liam Jones intercept defender type role?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, he played the first 2 games of this year, and you'd have to concede whether you like the guy or not. He did a damn good job in those 2 games. Like, he was very
and he's a big body, you know.
We won those 2 games, and in no small part thanks to his work down back. Now, it's only 2 games. He's been out now for the last 15 matches. So it's a long time to be out.
He owes us.
He certainly owes us. But, yeah, let's not expect him to be Superman. I think he's going to need some time to get back into the match conditioning side of things and get a feel for the game again and the pace of the game again.
So I'm just writing these down. So
I think Taranto's a danger player for them.
Yes, he is.
Canelio, of course. Their smaller players seem to be their strength.
Canelio. Canelio. Who else you mentioned? Taranto. Perryman.
Isn't Taranto? The rumor is Taranto's going to be at Collingwood next year.
I think Taranto's looking to move away from GWS. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've heard he's going to Collingwood.
Geez, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind him.
Yeah,
you could have another Italian at the club, Joe.
I used to like the Taranto's gelati.
I used to like the Taranto's fruit and veggies.
And the tartufi, remember the tartufi?
Yeah. The ice creams.
Yeah.
The Italian ice creams, the traditional ones that you saw at all of those Italian weddings over there in those reception centres in the northern suburbs.
Yeah, gelati or tartufo. Which
Cassata.
One do you want?
Cassata. Did you like that?
Yeah.
What about forbidden apple?
I like the forbidden. Can you still get these ice creams?
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I haven't been to an Italian wedding for
Taranto
ages.
does them. I think Everest is another one.
Yeah, Everest do the gelati.
Anyway, here we are. Here we are, 2 old logs bloody reminiscing about the old Italian wedding days. They almost don't happen anymore. Anyway, other danger players, I think, for them are they're taller forwards in Hogan, Riccardi, and Himmelberg. I think if they get off the leash, they could cause us some problems down back.
Yes.
Taylor impresses me then in defence for them, number 15. And I think Callum Ward also gives them a lot of experience around the ground. So they're going to be their main dangers. Haynes is another defender, number Green, 19, obviously. That's a pretty handy player.
Aside from Toby Green.
And, well, we mentioned Toby Green. That goes without saying. He is their most dangerous player. So
he loves playing us. He loves playing us.
Is he coming to Carlton, Vince?
Toby Green.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, Vince.
Mm-hmm. Where do I get a forbidden apple from? Eve.
Ross.
The answer to that, Ross? Eve. that's where Adam got his forbidden apple from.
What's that Wog supermarket in bloody Brunswick that I used to take my mum to?
Oh God, don't what? You mean
I can't think of it. Just
hang on.
Near Franco Copsa.
Let me think. I'll think of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it right now.
Ross, they're around. I know I've seen them at that anyway. Okay, anyway. So Will Hayes is out.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Who else do we think's out?
Well, I think Honey being the medical sub that wasn't used last week will also be officially omitted. Now, whether he gets brought back in as a medical sub again, I don't know,
No.
or
Okay.
whether I just don't see him. Look, I could be wrong. They might keep him. They might actually bring him into the side and say, right, play on a half-forward flank. Because one of the things that last week's game against Geelong showed me is that our half-forward line was almost non-existent. We need to free up Silvani again because he's been pinch hitting in the ruck. Now, if Pitnet comes back, that frees up Silvani because De Koning can then play second ruckman, and that will allow Silvani to play that high half-forward role that we need so badly. And that's where Jack Martin also plays when he's in the team. So our half-forward line was terrible last week.
So out Honey, do we think Durden will probably get it dumped?
Well, I'm suspecting that Durden will probably, funnily enough, even though he should be dropped in my opinion, if Michael Voss wants to have selection integrity, he should drop Durden, in my view. Right?
Okay.
How many poor games are you going to allow the kid to play before you make a statement and say, no, we're not going to accept this level of output? I just don't think he's been giving us enough. So I would drop Durden. Whether we do or not might depend on how many small forwards Michael Voss wants in the team. And with Owies not being available, he might just leave Durden in there. The other ones I think are Nunes and Stocker and Cottrell. They're the ones that probably have the question mark against their name.
Just writing these down.
Because they didn't have what you would call really good games on the weekend.
Okay.
I would keep Plowman myself. I think I'd put Plowman on Toby Green. I personally would drop Durden before I dropped any of the others. Only because I think he's been given more than enough chances now.
So we're definitely bringing in...
And if that means bringing in Honey, we'll bring in Honey. Bring in Honey for Durden, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what Ross and Angela Fiore think. If Durden will stay, if Honey doesn't replace him. Dino Harris seems to be thinking that Setters should get a game after his 40-plus disposal.
Well, see, there's another one. He got 40 possessions in the VFL last week. The question is, does he fit into this team, and does he fit into Michael Voss's plans? I mean, what does the guy have to do? What does the guy have to do? He's been burning in the reserves. 40 possessions. It's not the first good game he's played. He probably deserves an opportunity. He could be another one that comes in on the wing and plays, and maybe they'll drop Nunes and bring in Setterfield and play him on the wing.
Well, are we bringing in Pitternet and McGovern?
Definitely, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, does that make us a bit too top-heavy?
No.
Well, who are you dropping for Pitternet?
You're not.
Someone's got to come out of the team.
Oh, sorry. I know what you mean. What I'm saying is you're not dropping a ruckman. You're adding a ruckman.
No, but someone's got to come out.
Yes, and I'm saying that should be Durden and or Honey and or Nunes.
Okay.
I think we've got to have a slightly different makeup in the team. It's not quite what it should be. So adding that extra big player, you're going to have two genuine ruckmen. You can give Silvani the rest that he's been crying out for instead of playing pinch hit in the ruck. I think that's affected his game personally. So Ross thinks Plowman struggles against the likes of Green and Elliott. I don't know. If you're not gonna play Plowman, who are you going to put on Toby Green? Tell me.
McGovern.
Say don't play him. Who are you going to play on Toby Green?
Exactly.
If it's not Plowman, you're not going to put McGovern on him. He's too slow for Toby Green. So who are you going to play on Toby?
Adam Sard?
No.
He's more of a half-back.
I'm just shouting out names.
No. I can't see that. Newman, maybe, but it's a bit like, Toby Green's a little bit like what Liam Ryan is for West Coast. Do you remember that game last year we played West Coast up in Sydney? Liam Ryan tore us apart. Why? Because we did not have a proper matchup for him. And they tried Stocker, they tried Newman, they tried a few others, and no one was able to stop him. And I just think Toby Green's one of these players that He can play tall and he can play small, all in the one breath. He can fly for marks on one hand, and then the minute the ball hits the ground, he's like any other midfielder that can just pick it up off his shoelaces. He's a very dangerous player.
What about Doherty? Do we play Doherty on him?
Maybe.
Another halfback flanker.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to look, put it this way, Joe. We can only speculate. It'll be interesting to see who Michael Voss gives the job to keep Toby Green quiet, because it's a huge job.
Exactly.
So we're basically saying we're definitely bringing in Pitto and McGovern.
Yep. Well, I would.
And maybe Setterfield?
Maybe
as a medical sub.
Yeah.
Or maybe, look, I personally would bring in Setterfield to reward him for his great work in the VFL, and at the expense of someone like Nunes or Durden. Okay? Who have not been really in good form. The other one you could bring in is Lockie O'Brien, because he got dropped last week quite surprisingly. And to his credit, he played a very good game in the VFL. So don't be surprised if he gets a game on the wing at the expense of Nunes, who's been underperforming now for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he didn't complain about it. He went about his business and got those good numbers as well. That should be applauded.
Yep.
Hang on.
Yep.
Peter Vlahos has given this a lot of thought. Pitnet for Nunes, McGovern for Stocker/Plowman, Lockie O'Brien for Hayes, and Honey sub out. I think instead of Lockie O'Brien, you might have Setterfield, but I don't think that Peter's far off the mark there, to be honest.
Well, he's saying Pitnet comes in for Nunes.
I think
McGovern comes in for Stocker or Plowman.
I think he'll come in for Stocker, but I
Lockie
don't know.
O'Brien for Hayes. Well, see, Lockie O'Brien's the winger, and he would come in for Nunes, not Pitto. Pitto's coming in for Durden. I think I agree with the changes. I don't agree with how he's put them across.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be at least 3 changes in my opinion, maybe 4.
Yeah. So let's get on. Where do you think who's going to win and by how much?
Go for it, Beachy. What do you think?
Well, look, I'm not going to bang on about the last time we played GWS for too long, but that does come into consideration where we beat them by.
We had a good win over them, didn't we, in Sydney for the first time?
We did.
First time ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, first time out. I don't think it's
this
going to be something
Saturday at Marvel, isn't it?
Sunday afternoon, 1:10.
Sunday Marvel.
Yeah, Sunday 1:10. Toos are playing at Icon Park on Saturday night at about 6 o'clock. As Vince is saying, get down there if you can. Now, I reckon this is probably a 4-goal win to us. GWS will probably push us for a little bit, but with no Kelly and Whitfield, I wouldn't be surprised if it blew out a little bit further.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I agree with Ross. 30 points, which is not a lot in these games.
Not enough for me. No, I think GWS. I think Carlton will win by 7 goals, mate. 42 points for me.
Whoa!
I think we'll end up pulling away. I think Harry will hit back hard after a poor game last week. I think I agree. Harry will kick at least 5, in my opinion, maybe 6. And I just think we'll get our confidence back against this mob. I think there's a few players that were down last week that will want to atone and want to hit back hard. And we do enjoy playing football at Marvel Stadium. That's for sure. So I think 7 goals. Yep. They'll be in the game for a while, but I think we'll pull away. Yeah.
That's right. Now, Beachy, before we go, were you at the Man U Crystal Palace game last night?
I was. Yes.
75,000, is that right?
76.5. 76.5.
How was the atmosphere?
It was pretty good. There were a few people that decided to try and cost themselves $10,000. So, that's always interesting.
You didn't climb the scoreboard and urinate, did you, Beachy?
Too high, Joe. Too high.
Oh, what an idiot!
Well, I'll tell you what, Beachy, you're like me. You're an Everton supporter. I'm not sure what you're doing. Going to a Manchester United Crystal Palace game, but it would have been a great atmosphere. And did Cristiano Ronaldo play or not?
No. He hasn't come out on tour.
Right.
Hey, have you seen he's been offered $200 million to play in Saudi Arabia, and he said no?
Oh, exactly.
Man,
maybe Greg Norman could sign him up to play golf on that sort of money.
Maybe.
Well, hang on. Vince, since you're talking about golf, we've got to mention Cam Smith. Surely.
Yes. Well, I was going to do that after we all gave our Joe asked you about the Man United.
Man spew.
How does Man United's song go again, Beachy? Isn't it the same song as Glory, Glory, Hallelujah?
No.
Glory, Man United.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it? Something like that?
Yep. Something along those lines.
No, you should know the Chelsea song, Vince.
Why is that?
Because they used to play it at the Carroll.
This is the Chelsea song, Beachy. This is how it goes.
I've heard it.
We are the Chelsea Blues. We are the old.
No, it's blue is the colour. Football is the game. We're all together. And winning is our... Beachy, are you drinking Coca-Cola?
Yes.
What happened to the solo? I've got sponsorship for you.
Give him solo a night off.
Oh, dear me. Well,
all right.
Yes, we have to mention that sensational win by Cameron Smith over there at St Andrews in Scotland. What a magnificent performance! Honestly, even if you're not a golf follower or someone who enjoys the game, either playing it or watching it, you would be brain dead not to have been excited and intrigued by what happened there on that final day over at St Andrews, where he started the day 4 shots behind 2 other players, one of them being the crowd favourite Rory McIlroy, the other one being a very talented young Norwegian called Victor Hovland.
Yes.
Hovland struggled. He ended up making 2 over for the day, so he slipped back to 14 under. Rory McIlroy played a steady round, but never really got going with his putter. I don't think he ever one-putted a hole. And ended up 2 under, going to 18 under. But Cameron Smith started the day on 12 under par. His first 9 holes were very steady. He got 2 birdies to go up to 14 under at the turn. But the back 9 is where he really turned it on. He scored 6 under in 9 holes, 9 of the toughest holes in golf. And it was just an amazing putting performance. And probably the most impressive of those 9 holes was, funnily enough, a hole where he didn't make birdie. He actually made par, and it was on the famous road hole, the 17th hole at St Andrews, where it is so dangerous in the way it's structured. And after his second shot, he put himself in a really difficult position, but he did this magnificent putt off the surface, finished about 12 foot from the hole, and then ended up putting it for par. It was an amazing par, the best par hole I've ever seen.
Vince, one question.
Yeah.
Is he a Carlton supporter?
I'm going to make him into one. I'm going to try and get a hold of him and I'm going to try and get him to put a Carlton jumper on. But I'll tell you one thing.
All right.
I'll tell you one bloke who'll be very proud of Cameron Smith, and that's Stephen Curnahan, because he would look at that mullet and say, wow.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He probably plays golf as good as Stephen Curnahan. He's not a bad golfer, is he? Sticks?
Oh, he loves his game of golf every week over there at Kew Golf Club with Craig Bradley and Adrian Gleeson and Greg Williams. Don't worry about that.
Oh,
and sometimes even Mil Hannah.
If he's at the golf club this way, I might need to hit my eye out.
There you go. It's right near you, Beachy. You ought to go there and join them. Find out what day.
Yeah, come on, Beachy. Don't they know who you are? Anyway,
but look, in all seriousness, fantastic performance by Cameron Smith. We should all be very proud of him.
Yeah, we should. So on that note, we'll sign off. So let's hope we have a Carlton win.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And don't forget.
Thanks for having me, boys.
That's all right. Tune into the Jumper Puncher on Tuesdays. Goz and Firma on a Thursday, I think, and Vince and Steve on this channel on
Sunday
night after the game.
8
They'll
o'clock.
give you. I bet you Steve will mention Cam Smith again.
Well, probably.
You will.
Anyway.
Well, we mentioned him on the Monday night show this week, so I don't think we have to.
Oh, did you? All right. Well, that's okay.
But Sunday night at 8 o'clock, yes, join us for another edition of In the Blue Corner with Steve and myself, and we will dissect the Carlton GWS game.
A victory. So it's good night from me, Beachy.
And it's good night.
It's good night from me.
And it's good night from both of them.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Good night.